This video will show you how to analyze chords on a score and then label them using the Nashville number system. Here are the steps we're going to follow. We're first going to identify the pitches in each chord. Then we're going to rewrite each chord as a snowman. We're going to make sure we know what is in the base of the chord in the original score. And then we'll use that information to write the chord name using letter names and slash notation. And finally, we'll translate that into Nashville numbers. So we will analyze these three chords that I've marked with a blue arrow from this setting of Tantum Ergo by Anton Bruckner. I will play this phrase for you. So we'll be looking at the second, third, and fourth chord. First, let's identify the pitches in each of these chords. So we'll start with this one. On the bottom here we have G. This is B flat. And remember that there is a B flat on the key signature, so this is B flat and not B. This is D. And this is B flat. Let's go to the next chord. And the bass we have F, because that's good boys do fine always, that's F. Here we have D, F, and B flat. We'll go to the next chord. This is F, C, F, A. We have identified all the pitches in each of these chords. Let's now look at each one of them and see if we can rewrite each one of these chords as snowmen. So I'm going to get a piece of staff paper. I'll move this up a little bit. And I'm going to get an extra piece of staff paper right here. You can go to something like blanksheetmusic.net or go to Canvas, and you can find some PDFs of just staff lines you can print out if you need this. You can even just get a piece of paper and draw 5 lines as neatly as you can and use that. And so I will draw my clef here. There's a treble clef. And I'll rewrite the key signature of 2 flats. And let's take a look at this first chord and see if we can rewrite it as a snowman. Okay, so we have G, B flat, D, and B flat. Okay, and doing this step might require a little bit of trial and error. You're just going to rewrite these notes, ignoring repetitions, until you can get that chord to look like a snowman. So I'll do this in blue. Okay, so let's start with G. Let's see, where's a G? Here's a G. Okay, then a B flat. I'll write my B flat there. Okay, and then I have a D. I'll write my D down there. And then a B flat. Well, I already have a B flat, so I don't need to write that twice. Okay, does this look like a snowman yet? No, not yet, because these notes are not all separated by a third. Okay, you'll know it looks like a snowman because they'll all be on adjacent lines on the staff or adjacent spaces on the staff. So what I'm going to have to do now is move one or more of these notes up and down by an octave in order to make this look like a snowman. So what I'll do is I'll take this D and I'll move it up an octave to the D an octave higher. So now we have G, B flat, and this is D. Every good boy does for D. Aha! Now this looks like a snowman. So that is my triad in its simplest form. It sounds like this. Okay. And finally, what we'll do is we'll identify the quality of this triad. I won't talk about how to identify triad qualities. If you need to review that, I would suggest looking at your notes or a different video about triads. This is a G, B flat, and D. And here I just caution you, remember the accidentals in the key signature. This is a G minor triad. Next, we'll look at the original chord and look at the bass. The bass is G, so we don't need to use a slash. In other words, the root of the triad right there is also in the bass. So I'll label this chord G minor. Next chord. Let's follow the same steps. First, we'll try to write this chord as a snowman. So there's F, there's a D, I'll write that D right here. There's an F, I already have an F, so I'll just leave it alone. And here's a B flat. Okay. Does this look like a snowman yet? Not quite yet, because this space here is too wide. Well, I'll try moving that D down an octave. So here's my D up here, every good boy does. I'll bring it down. So now I have F, B flat, and then I'll bring the D down there. Does that look like a snowman yet? No, not yet, because we have a note on a line there and a note on a space. We don't have a snowman. I'll bring the B flat down an octave one more time. Now we have F, D, and on the line would be C, so one step lower would be B flat. There we go. Ha! Now we have a happy snowman. Okay, so this is our chord. The notes are B flat, D, and F. Okay, this is a B flat major triad. Okay, so we figured out this chord, and we need to remember, after we've rewritten the chord as a snowman, we must look at the bass, because that bass is, one of those very important voices that helps to identify how stable these different chords are. So let's look at the bass. The note here in the bass is F. All right. Is F the root of this chord? No. F is actually the fifth of that chord. So this is a second inversion chord. The way I'll label this is B flat major over F. That means B flat major with F in the bass. All right, that's our second chord. Here's our last chord. So our notes are, I have F in the bass. I have a C here. I'll write the C. Here's a C on the treble clef. I have F. I already have an F, so I can leave that alone. And then I have A. Does that chord look like a snowman? Yes, it does. So that one we've already had. We've solved. I'll play it. Okay. This is an F major chord. Let's look at the bass. What note is in the bass? F. And F is the root of the chord. So I'll label this F. Okay, and we don't need a slash there, because if the root of that chord is in the bass, you can just label it with equality, and it's assumed that the root is in the bass if you don't see any other markings. Okay, so we've identified these three chords. We have a G minor chord, a B flat major chord over F in the bass, and then an F major chord. Okay, final step, let's translate these into Nashville number notation. Okay, so here you just need to know the notes of a B flat major scale. And if you need to review how to do that, I suggest you get a keyboard and just mark out the notes, or just review the scales with some other technique. Okay, so here we have a G minor chord, and so we need to ask ourselves, in the key of B flat major, what scale degree is G? Okay, I'll play a B flat major scale and I'll stop on G, and you can tell me what scale degree did I stop on. Here's B flat. There's G. G was the sixth note in that scale, or scale degree 6. So the way we notate this chord is with a 6 and then a minus sign to use to indicate that it's a minor chord. We don't put a hat on this because the hat means that just the note or the scale degree, and here this 6 is being used to show a chord or a triad instead. Okay, next chord, B flat over F. All right. Well, if we're in the key of B flat major, B flat is the B flat major triad is going to be 1. That's easy. But then we have this slash, so we have the F. So the way we show that in Nashville notation is it looks like a fraction. You put a line like that, and then we're going to show the scale degree of the bass note underneath. So now the question is, what scale degree is F in the key of B flat major? Okay, I'll play a B flat major scale and stop on F, and you can tell me what scale degree that is. Here's B flat. There's F. So F was the 5th note of the scale. So we write it like that. Finally, we have an F major chord, and we already know that F is the 5th note of the scale. So I'll write that as a 5. And there is our Nashville number notation of these chords in Bruckner's Tantum Ergo. That's all for now. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.